right this second is another guest, another theater expert, a longtime theater critic and voter and expert and writer. And I'm vamping as he comes on. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and we're just going to make sure he unmutes so we can hear him. He is Joe Dziemianowicz. Joe Dziemianowicz, for many, many years, the critic for the New York Daily News. Now he's at New. Oh, no, 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 no. Come back, Joe. Come back, Joe. Well, I'll give you his creds anyway. New, NewYorkTheaterGuide.com. He is the vice president of the New York Drama Critics Circle. He also, you'll find his writings about theater and other things in Oxygen, Barons. He is constantly writing, constantly working, and now he is working to get back into the neighborhood to join us. Fingers crossed, let's hope, because he will be talking about what category? Oh, this is going to be interesting. You've just heard Bob Cashel about actor in a musical. Now we're going to see if there's agreement or disagreement from Joe Dziemianowicz connecting to audio. Please unmute. You're almost there.
Hi, Dave. Sorry, I had a little technical glitch. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Joe Dziemianowicz. Yay. Forgive me, we've already done your intro, your credits, so I'm going to go right into your category, if you don't mind. So here.
No, great. That's great. I think my category is Best Actor in a Musical, and it sort of embodies what Broadway's all about any given season. We've got the newcomers and we've got the oldies but goodies, right?
Exactly. In fact, I'll read them out. Here we go. One of the newcomers is a fellow named Billy Crystal. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's in a show called Mr. Saturday Night. Miles Frost in the Michael Jackson musical MJ. Hugh Jackman in The Music Man. Rob McClure as Mrs. Doubtfire, and Jaquel Spivey in A Strange Loop. Now, it just worked out that we've already heard somebody on this category. I want to see if you dovetail with them or not, and what your feelings are.
Oh, really? Did we do double duty on this one? Yeah. I think that this is sort of going to be an exciting category, and I think a lot of the races. I don't think there's a real sure thing, but I think that the race is going to come down to a race between two newcomers who have so much in common. We've got two debuts, we've got two millennials, we've got two actors in that also have Michael Jackson in common. One, the author of the piece, one, the subject of the piece. So we've got Miles Frost and Jaquel Spivey. I think it's really going to come down to a race between those leading actors in A Strange Loop and MJ. And I think that Hugh Jackman will be content with his, Boy from Oz Tony and his special Tony. I think Rob McClure, who's always hardworking, always really likable, and this is his second nomination. He knows what the race is about. He knows that being nominated is being part of a winner. You know what I mean? Being recognized for a show that struggled not just once but twice. And Billy Crystal, who comes to Broadway with so much goodwill, a lot of fans. I think that I think that ultimately he's got two categories. He's nominated in this category as well as Best Book, but I think he's ultimately going to go home without any precious medal. So I think it's going to come down to the two young 20-somethings. And I'll tell you exactly. I have no problem telling you I voted for Jaquel. I think that in A Strange Loop, and while I think Miles gives a performance that is incredibly exciting, I think it comes down to what really I'm a real what moves me, and I think that Jaquel Spivey's performance is all heart. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, another interesting thing that those two young actors have in common is they both won Theater World Awards, so they both captured attention. Do you know what I mean? So whatever happens on the night of the Tonys, these two guys have already won. They say you only have one chance to make a first impression, and look what these guys did, right? Came to Broadway, announced themselves in a huge way, and they're going to be remembered, whatever. But I do think that in the end, Jaquel Spivey will be the one who will be giving the speech. It's incredibly, who would ever think that, and what the author of this piece has done, Usher, the character he plays, is sort of when's the last time we saw an everyman look like that? Black, overweight, queer. But then again, you look move that aside, and it's a universal story of a search for who we are, what we mean to ourselves, what we mean to the world, and how we fit in. It's an incredibly moving story.
Now, can I ask you, was there anybody that you would have liked to see if there was an extra room in the category? Is there anybody that you would be like, oh, that was a great performance also?
No, I think that I think the nominators did a good job on this. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I think it's going to be a good race. I think, I'm looking forward to seeing, how it all plays out.
all right. Now, Joe Dziemianowicz, here's a question. When you first came back to going to the theater, probably a lot sooner than I did, after a year and a half off, after this pandemic, I'm
Yeah.
wondering what the first show you saw was, or the first moment when you went like, what was it extraordinary, or was it like, oh, this is like normal? I just haven't done this in a bunch of months.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about that as I was the first show back was Broadway, was Passover.
Hmm.
And I spend a lot of time in the in the theater, so I hear a lot of pre-show announcements. But do I remember the exact words? No, but I remember the feeling, a surge of emotion as this, they're talking about welcome back. And I don't think, that crowd that I was in the theater with all knew how important, how significant, and how meaningful it was to be back. And, it was sort of like, excellent play, by the way, which I had seen at LCT3 before it moved to Broadway, but so much joy from a pre-show opening. It was kind of great.
That's neat. Now, also speaking of great, besides The Strange Loop, which you obviously loved, was
Yeah.
there a show or two that you saw on or off Broadway this past season that you absolutely loved?
Yeah, it was interesting. I had just wrapped sort of the last Broadway show, all the critics see everything. And, I had finished the last show. And, I think it was maybe 2 days later, I saw this play by Samuel D. Hunter called A Case for the Existence of God. And, I suspect that other people that you're going to be talking to on this podcast and on the show today will mention it, because I was so taken by surprise. It's so small, but so big. And just a reminder that, Broadway season ends, but it's a Mobius. It just goes, the theater just goes on and on. Story of two young men who come together for one reason, stick together for quite another reason. And it's just a beautiful play, a beautiful play.
I am so hope I didn't excuse me get to see it, but I'm hoping it'll come and move and maybe come to Broadway because it seems
Yeah, I suspect that it's a play that'll be done a lot. It's a very economic, well, two characters, one set, and it's in one, essentially a cubicle. It could be done with, minimal set. And it just is a huge, wonderful reminder of what you can do in the theater that you can't do anywhere else. It's time changes, and this, and by the play's own design, by the playwright's design. These are two men who never get out of their chair until the last 15 minutes of a 90-minute play. But time goes by, and ultimately characters change. Where it goes at the end is a complete,
don't even
wonderful surprise.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it. I honestly don't know, but
Yeah.
most
No.
anything that I do. So let me
Yeah.
ask
No.
but before we let you go, Joe Dziemianowicz, I'm curious, what might you be looking forward to? Because since you said Broadway's a Mobius, theater's a Mobius, what are you looking forward to in this season that's already started now, this next one?
Yeah, and it's funny. I was just thinking about that too. As I mentioned, Passover was the first on Broadway, but I saw Merry Wives at the Delacorte, the public theater production. So I'm looking forward to Richard III. I'm booked in July. Danae Guerrera, who is so good, is so good on stage. I'm looking forward to seeing her, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Janine Tesori and David Lindsay-Abaire do, and Victoria Clark do with Kimberly Akimbo. I love the show off Broadway at the Atlantic, and it's always interesting to see what changes, what stays the same when that moves to Broadway in the fall. I think it's a very, very sweet show. Again, a small show, but ultimately has big things to say about, what matters.
Yeah. You always have big things to say about what matters to us as people and as theater people. Joe Dziemianowicz, everybody remember to read him. I unfortunately always keep this on a separate page. I shouldn't do that. But you write for NewYorkTheaterGuide.com, also for Oxygen, for Barron's. Is there another place where we should be reading?
I write for Newsday quite a bit. I had done a little bit of theater writing for them about Funny Girl and how Fanny Brice lived on Long Island and went out to the home that she lived in. Got to, nose around her old stomping grounds. So, yeah, I read for a bunch of people. So I appreciate your mentioning that.
Well, then everybody Google Joe, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's
Yeah,
Diamianowicz.
that's correct.
Joe Dziemianowicz, and just a great friend of the neighborhood. So great to have you back.
Thanks, Dave. It's great to see you.
You too.
Have fun.
Happy Tonys. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Joe Dziemianowicz in the neighborhood on this Tony special.